Hello friends and welcome to that Pro Wrestling Guys Wednesday Roundup. As I am recording this, it is Thursday the 4th of June 2020, 5:31 in the morning. I just finished watching AEW and NXT back to back, and I gotta be honest with you, I think there was two good shows this week. There was a lot of good stuff on both shows this week, and as I was watching it, I couldn't wait to get into it. I really couldn't. So as usual, we'll start with AEW. And AEW kicks off with a nice, respectful Black Lives Matter cold open, a really nice tribute to what's going on in the world. And then we go straight into the recount of last week, and then the commentators run down the card. And like I said last week, this is a very WCW thing to open up the show with the commentators running down the card like that. Even the previously on AEW kind of thing, it has very much WCW vibes. And I don't know if that's intended. I know that I'm sure AEW are trying to do their own thing, but I am getting serious WCW vibes of the presentation of the program. But anyway, we get a match to kick things off then. It's Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. And this is for the tag team titles, which is good because I feel like I haven't seen the tag team titles be defended in God knows how long. To start it off, I have to reference Kenny Omega's music. It's fucking awful. And like I said, this is going to be a running theme with AEW. They have terrible music. For the most part, their music is absolutely fucking terrible. And Kenny Omega is no exception. Especially because I really loved his New Japan Pro Wrestling theme. The Dragon Sky theme. And I really wish he could have kept using that. But unfortunately, that's the way she goes. Kenny Omega is now saddled with shit music. Omega and Havoc kick things off. Ford inserts herself into the match nearly instantly. We get a fish hook by Jimmy Havoc, which is a very justy. Havoc has some really great heel work when he tags out. And then the camera pans to FTR, who are observing the action from the crowd, which is lovely to see. They're getting involved in the tag team champion scene straight away by the looks of things. Then we get interesting tag team work from Kenny Omega and Page. And I say interesting because I don't necessarily think it was good. It seemed very generic. I mean, they were doing some cool moves. There was some big impact. But they don't seem to gel like a tag team. They're not like a Young Bucks. They're not a pair. You know what I mean? You can tell they haven't been working on these tag team moves for years. Like, in my opinion anyway. Then we get a failed Hurricane Rana from Penelope Ford on Hangman Page. Hangman Page hangs on to her. Referee Rick Knox admonishes Hangman Page. Hangman Page asks what he should do with her. Referee Rick Knox says, put her down. He puts her down. Havoc then uses a ring wrench on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. So Hangman Page eats a ring wrench to the back of the neck for a fucking 2 count. Why bother? Why bother inserting a foreign object like that if Jimmy Havoc isn't going to go over? I don't get that. I don't get the psychology behind that. Anyone else? Either way, we get more good heel work from Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. Sabian knocks Omega off the apron. We get more double team. And at this point, we get a serious case of legal man syndrome. Who the fuck is legal in this one? Now, you can tell who's legal on the elite side, but who is legal between Havoc and Sabian? Because they are just in and out of the ring non-stop. There's no way you can tell. Omega gets a lukewarm tag. He hits a really cool you can't escape rolling fireman's carry into a backstabber combination on both Sabian and Havoc, which I thought was crisp. That was shades of the old Kenny Omega coming in right there. At this point I realize I guess Kip Sabian is the legal man. We get some really good tag team offense then from Omega and Hangman Page. Havoc attempts to use a hacksaw, and again, why fucking bother? He hits a big crossbody after he tries to use the hacksaw. Then we get an awesome Death Valley driver on Kenny Omega onto Page by Jimmy Havoc. A Poison Rana by Kip Sabian on Kenny Omega. Omega reverses the finish, which is the Michinoku driver combination. He hits a Snapdragon, a V-trigger, more great double team moves. But again, who's legal? At this stage, all 4 guys are in the ring doing moves to each other. There hasn't been a tag in a while now. But whatever, we get the last call, the cool tag team move from Kenny Omega and Hangman Page for the 3 and the win in about 14 minutes. And this was a good way to kick off AEW. This was a good way to kick off AEW. This match was good. It did suffer from legal man syndrome a bit, but this was a good tag team match. I'm not going to make it any secrets that I like Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I don't necessarily like them as a team, but I like them both separately. Kip Sabian I have a bit of a graw for, and Jimmy Havoc I have a bit of a graw for because I've seen him wrestle for OTT a whole bunch of times. But I do have a question. In the middle of the match there was a leapfrog spot, and it looked like a botch, but I think it was meant to be a reversal, and I just don't know. So Kenny Omega goes to leapfrog Sabian, and to me it looked like Sabian forgot to duck. But then it also could have been that he caught him in a kind of powerbomb position and fell backwards. Kenny Omega falls, hits his face hard off the floor. He's selling his jaw. I don't know. Was it a botch? Someone can fill me in. I'm not sure. But either way, it was a great match. It was a good way to kick off AEW. And it continues with good because we get a cut of a Tully Blanchard cutting a really good backstage promo on Sean Spears. So the segment, the two of them are backstage together. Tully Blanchard is cutting this promo on Sean Spears, and he just has this intensity. Like Tully Blanchard, when it comes to cutting promos, has proven that he's one of the best in the modern era. Still got it, like this intensity. He's fantastic. Then after this segment, it cuts to them in the back of a limo. Tully Blanchard presents Sean Spears with a glove, and I imagine that this is a loaded glove. So I guess Sean Spears is going to be the new person to run with a loaded glove gimmick, which is cool. It's old school, and that's one thing I gotta say that AEW are doing somewhat right, is integrating the old school with the new school, and this is a good example of that. And more Tully Blanchard on TV. Who's going to complain about that? Then we get a recount of last week's show, which is the second recount of last week's show on this week's show. Does that seem a bit time-wasty to anyone, or is it just me? No. Anyway, out comes Taz and Brian Cage. Fuck yeah. We're going to get another squash match here. Sean Dean gets the jobber entrance, aka no entrance. So you tell straight away once Brian Cage gets to the ring that this is not going to take long. The match consists of some big suplexes, a few big power moves. Brian Cage gets the win with the drill claw in 1 minute and 32 seconds after hitting a nasty looking buckle bomb as well. But yeah, this is over. Like I said last week about Brian Cage, standard 2 minute squash match. And for now, I think that this is the best way to use Brian Cage, with these short little 2 minute squash matches. And then Taz cuts a promo afterwards like he did last week, only this time while Taz is cutting the promo on Jon Moxley actually comes out to answer the call. Taz warns Jon Moxley not to get in the ring. He'll regret it if he gets in the ring. Jon Moxley instantly gets in the ring. Jon Moxley cuts his own promo, and Jon Moxley's promo is much better than anything he's done in the Fed. I think by giving Jon Moxley free reign, he's become a lot more entertaining, a lot more charismatic. I like Jon Moxley here. But Taz warned him not to get in the ring. He said he'd promise that he wouldn't like what happens if he got in the ring. And he got in the ring, and guess what happened? Nothing. He cut his promo confidently and safely. He got back out of the ring and he walked backstage. So what was the big hullabaloo? Where was the pull apart? I don't know if it was just me that annoyed, but don't make threats if you're not going to follow up on them, Taz. Whatever, we cut from that to Lance Archer cutting a promo in what looked like a junkyard, or what might have been a building's demolition site. Before he cuts the promo, he's throwing a random jobber around, and this again, to me, this feels like filler. This didn't need to be in this. This definitely did not get Lance Archer over in any way. I just feel like there was a few segments on this show where they were killing time. And the next segment is also one of those, because we cut to backstage. Private Party are having a private party, in the bar. And Matt Hardy comes in and starts talking to Private Party about how he respects Private Party, how he sees a lot of himself and Jeff in Private Party. And they set up a relationship between them. But again, I'm like, why? What was the point in this? I just see this as time wasting. I see this as filler. I don't see anything coming of this. I don't see any long time storyline with just Matt Hardy working with Private Party, but they can prove me wrong. We'll see where this is going. I might be proven wrong about this. This could end up being the greatest storyline in AEW. Who knows? But to me, on this show, this did feel like time wasting, and it wasn't one of the only points of the show where I felt like there were filling time because they didn't have the content to fill it. And Matt Hardy walks out to the hall. Sammy Guevara is there for some reason, I don't know. But then we get a hype package for Cody Rhodes and Jungle Boy, which is happening later on in the night. And it's a hype package. It's a really good hype package. Like I said last week, if there's one thing AEW does really, really good, it's their production, their hype packages and stuff like that. And this is no exception. This has me really looking forward to the main event of tonight's show. Great stuff. Great job, AEW. And then we get a recount of the pep rally. And I made my feelings clear on the pep rally last week. I thought the segment was stupid. It was a really stupid segment until Tyson came out to save the day. And in this recount, they cut it so that it didn't look as stupid. This recount was actually really well done. But if I was AEW and I had a segment that stupid on last week's show, I would be trying to get it out of people's memory, not trying to refresh people's memory of it. I mean, have the Jericho-Tyson pull apart by all means, but there's absolutely no reason to remind wrestling fans what we had to sit through with that stupid pep rally. I mean, according to Chris Jericho, if you don't find his stuff funny, you don't have a soul. Maybe I don't have a soul because I really did not find this pep rally funny. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, scenes backstage. Jericho and Colt. So it turns out that Colt Cabana, Jericho is blaming Colt Cabana for not getting the chance to knock Mike Tyson out because it was Colt Cabana that pulled Jericho off Tyson. And we get a match because of that. Jericho makes his entrance. Sammy Guevara is singing Judas. He fucks up the lyrics on purpose. He's singing terribly on purpose. And this, again, and I feel like I'm really harking on the comedy side of AEW, but this, again, is just not funny. And this made me feel like I was dead inside because the plants around the ring are laughing at it. I'm sure the people on the internet are laughing at it. But I am definitely not laughing at this. This is so fucking stupid. And it was pointless. I really don't see the point in Sammy Guevara messing up Chris Jericho's lyrics. Is it a reference to something that I don't know? Did Sammy Guevara really fuck up karaoke on the Jericho Cruise or something? I don't know, but this was really, really fucking bad. The match starts with back and forth strikes between Cabana and Jericho. Jericho's thrown outside of the ring nearly instantly. But Cabana hits a huge Asagi moonsault to the outside, which was really crisp, really nice looking. They're on the outside, they're taking shortcuts, you know how this works. Hager trips up Cabana when he's on the top rope. He actually smashes him into the turnbuckle, which is the cue to go to the break. While it's on break, Hager interjects himself in the match more, but you don't see that. It's just one thing I need to reference this week. I watched the TNT stream rather than the Fight TV stream because I wanted to see how it's viewed in America rather than how I'm viewing it in Ireland. I wanted to see it as it's happening live, and let me tell you, there is a lot of fucking ad breaks. I don't understand how anybody watches this live. We come back from the break, then there's time wasting. There's a big running back elbow for a 2 from Chris Jericho. We get more time wasting. Cabana reverses one of Jericho's patented running bulldogs. We get more time wasting. And there's a flying apple and a big splash for a 2 count. Chris Jericho goes for a lion salt. It gets reversed. There's an elbow and then a mid-air Walls of Jericho reversal, which looked kind of sloppy, but it was a cool concept. Cabana manages to get to the ropes. Then we get a Cabana Conrana, an Avalanche Frankensteiner. That's only a 2. Cabana gets up. We get a sloppy kind of looking Judas effect, but it does the job. It gets the 3 and the win. I'm not shitting on either of these two guys when I say this, but this wasn't great. Like this was bad. I got vibes of Attitude Era in-ring off of this, and anyone that watches the Attitude Era knows that, you know, it was one of, if not the greatest periods in professional wrestling, blah blah blah, but in-ring, for the most part, it wasn't great. And that's what this felt like. This felt like Attitude Era in-ring, shortcuts, striking, fighting on the outside. This wasn't either of these men's best work. And I mean, you can excuse Jericho for it because he's working heel, whatever, but like, watching a wrestling match with just kind of big strikes is boring. want moves, and I don't think that I'm wrong for wanting moves, wrestling moves in a wrestling match. And this seems like there was just a lot of striking, a lot of time wasting, a lot of attitude era feeling guff. It was gack in the ring, time wasting, gack. Jericho then cuts a promo. He calls out Tyson. He keeps saying that he wants the baddest man on the planet out here. He wants the baddest man on the planet out here. They're building up that there's going to be a big entrance. It's obviously not going to be Mike Tyson, because we'd have all heard if Mike Tyson was going to be on the show. But then Orange Cassidy comes out. Why? I guess to set up a match between Orange Cassidy and Jericho next week, but I can't be sure. Orange Cassidy does Orange Cassidy stuff. He manages to avoid all of Jericho's attacks with his arms in his pockets. Gets out of the ring. The best friends carry him over the barricade. Here come the Inner Circle, and it just kind of panders out. Tony Schiavone says, I imagine this won't be the end we see of this, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the last we see of this either. Moving on, we get a funny Britt Baker recovery vignette, and then she comes out to ringside in her Rolls Royce, which is her wheelchair that she has customized herself and put a fake license plate on it with Rolls Royce because it rolls. This is actually genuinely funny, and it was the same last week. I said that Britt Baker, she's really charismatic, she's really funny. I don't generally like comedy in American wrestling. I think a lot of it can be really cringy, but when it comes naturally like it does to Britt Baker, I'm all for it. I want to see more of this, and if it keeps Britt Baker on TV while she's injured, I have no complaints about this, because I'm a big Britt Baker fan. I think she's consistently one of the best parts about AEW, and I'm not going to complain about getting more Britt Baker on my TV, even if she's not wrestling matches. Up next, we got Nyla Rose versus Big Swole. The match kicks off. Big Swole takes control early with a side headlock, and she holds that side headlock for an eternity. She refuses to leave go of the grip. Nyla doesn't bump for 2 big shoulder checks, which is the right move. Nyla then takes a really nasty bump over the top rope, landing kind of ass first on the apron. And like, as someone that's hit my collarbone really hard off that kind of metal, framing before, fucking let me tell you that shit hurts. Not my collarbone, Jesus Christ, sorry, my coccyx. That shit really fucking hurts, and especially when you have the kind of weight. When you're as big as Nyla Rose is, you've all that weight coming down on top of you as well as you hit that steel ring frame, and that's gotta fucking suck, man. And then I'm starting to think, is Big Swole getting too much offense? And within a minute of me thinking that question, yes, Big Swole is definitely getting too much offense. Nyla Rose is meant to be the native beast. She's meant to be their unstoppable monster in the women's division, and like, for the majority of this match, Big Swole is on offense. And I know that Big Swole has been away for 2 months, and this was her big return, but like, not the right opponent for it, I think. I mean, where was Christy Chains? Why couldn't Big Swole fight Christy Chains? Why did it have to be Nyla Rose? So I do think that Big Swole was getting too much offense. Now, Big Swole's offense is very good. I'll give her that. She has some really cool moves, some cool looking cutters, stuff like that. She has really good offense. She's a good wrestler, but I don't think she should be getting this much offense in on the native beast. You can't really call her the native beast if she's going toe to toe with every other woman on the roster, in my opinion. But anyway, Nyla Rose hits a big spear. She gets a beast bomb. There's a reversal. But then Nyla Rose hits a massive sit-out spine buster for the 3 and the win in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. After the match, Swole is getting interviewed by Tony Schiavone on the outside, and that gets broken up by Britt Baker. And like I said, I'm not going to complain about Britt Baker. The more Britt Baker I see on TV, the better. We then cut to a very short backstage segment with Darby Allin. And I mean, now this segment is so short that you can't tell whether he's a good promo, whether he's a bad promo, whether he's a good character, or whether he's a bad character. I like Darby Allin. I think Darby Allin's a good promo. I think Darby Allin's a good character. This was really short. I'm not going to comment on it. This simply happened. But then you get the big interview of the night, which is FTR sitting down with Tony Schiavone, and this was fantastic. So FTR rolled through all the possibilities of what FTR stands for, aka FTR stands for nothing. FTR say they're going to teach the Lucha Brothers tag team wrestling, which is fantastic. This whole thing is great. They reference the Midnight Express, teasing that Jim Cornette thing that's never going to happen. They talk about how they don't want to wrestle with the Young Bucks. They want to punch the Young Bucks in the mouth. Like, this whole thing, this is great. This is great character work. It's setting them up as that old school heel brainbusters type tag team, and I'm all about it. They are coming here to teach the AEW tag teams the rules of tag team wrestling, and I'm all about it. This is fantastic. I like a bit of tradition, and I always thought that the revival in WWE brought that element of tradition to their tag team division, and I'm looking forward to them doing the same thing here in AEW. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a bit of tradition. I like my bit of old school wrestling. I really like the revival. I'm really looking forward to see where this goes. Anyway, the Butcher and the Blade interrupt the interview, sets up a match for next week, and I'm all about that. Cut then to Alex Marvez. He's talking to Colt Cabana backstage, and then Brody Lee interrupts the interview and continues to groom Colt Cabana as if he's going to join the Dark Order, and talk about not fitting. I can't be the only one who thinks that Colt Cabana going to the Dark Order is a bad idea. I mean, I highly doubt it's going to happen, but I don't understand why they keep teasing it if it's not going to happen. Colt Cabana's whole character just doesn't gel with the Dark Order. I don't get it. I don't get where this is going. This is the same as the Jericho Tyson thing, where I was convinced they weren't going to have a match. Now I'm actually starting to convince myself that they're going to have a match. I was convinced that Colt Cabana is never going to join the Dark Order. Now we've had another segment. I'm starting to convince myself that Colt Cabana is going to join the Dark Order, and I just think it's a mismatch. I don't think that this is where they should go storyline wise. Maybe I'm wrong. I will give them the chance to prove me wrong, but I just don't think this is the way to go for Colt Cabana or the Dark Order, personally. Moving on to the main event, and it's a main event, like I said, that I was very much looking forward to after we got that really good vignette earlier on in the night. We get another vignette here leading up to it, which kind of plays more into my theory that they had a lot of filler on this show, but this was a good vignette. I'm never going to complain about seeing good, well-produced TV vignettes, and this was no exception. This is Jungle Boy and Cody Rhodes for the TNT title. Cody makes his entrance, and he still has shit music. Like I said last week, I am not a fan of Cody Rhodes' music. I think it's the moaniest theme song in all of wrestling at the minute. But this is not about Cody's music. This is about Cody's wrestling. And like I was saying last week, this the TNT title open challenge concept is going to give Cody Rhodes a lot of chances to prove his in-ring ability. And I think this was a great starting point. This was a great match. The match kicks off. Cody's in control early on. He uses his size to his advantage, as you'd imagine. Cody hits a massive power slam in the middle of the ring. He then starts working the legs. Good old school kind of psychological work the legs. Jungle Boy, he can't stand if he has no legs. Then there's Jungle Boy hits a twisting slingshot DDT, followed by a huge dive, and then a second huge dive. Cody catches him on the second dive and throws Jungle Boy into the Gun Club, who were sitting at ringside. And that's the cue to cut to the break. We get back from the break. Cody headbutts a wall after Jungle Boy gets out of the way. And then Jungle Boy walks towards the crowd where MJF is there. MJF causes a distraction. The camera focuses in on that for a while. That gives Cody his cue to Blade. And Cody gives himself a proper gusher. He's going for the blood in the blonde hair, dyeing the blonde hair red thing. It looks great. I mean, I like blading in wrestling. I don't think it's something that needs to happen in every match. It seems to be something that happens in every Cody match, that he either blades or he gets busted open hard way. But this looked good, and it's the main event. It's for the TNT title. Why not give yourself a little gash? And then I noticed when they get back into the ring that Jungle Boy is so fluid. He's got good basics. He's got good footwork. I like Jungle Boy a lot. Jungle Boy hits a huge lariat, which gets a flip bump from Cody, like a Rikishi flip bump from Cody. Jungle Boy opens him up more, a very vicious side to Jungle Boy that we don't usually see. He starts pounding in on the cut. Cody hits a huge drop kick to Jungle Boy while Jungle Boy is prone on the top rope, and a superplex that garners a 2. Cody grabs his weight belt and considers hitting Jungle Boy with it, but good guy Cody reconsiders. There's a huge spill from the top rope through a very conveniently placed table that happens to be holding the TNT title. And then when they do get back into the ring, Cody absolutely murders him with a crossroads. Just this swinging whiplash style crossroads. It looked nasty. Jungle Boy lands right on the top of his head. That gets the 3 and the win in 12 minutes 39 seconds. And then we get Pyro and we go home. Show's over. What did I think of AEW? It was definitely better than last week's show. Even though I think some of the segments were a bit fillery, I think some of the segments were a bit stupid, there was nothing egregiously bad on this, like that Battle Royal last week or the pep rally last week. There was nothing on this. I mean, I didn't enjoy Jericho and Colt Cabana, but for what it was a good match. I wouldn't say good, but it was an okay match. It was fine. It wasn't the best in either of their career, but if any other two people were having it, it would have been a fine match. There was nothing on this egregious like there was last week, because that Battle Royal last week was one of the worst things I have ever watched in wrestling. That was atrocious, and I'm happy to say that this week there is nothing that made me feel as physically disgusted as I did last week. So AEW, as far as I'm concerned, this week, thumbs up. Not thumbs way up, but thumbs up. Moving on to NXT, and straight away, what I love about NXT is get straight into action. We get straight into a match. The match gets introduced. There's no dilly-dallying, no fucking around. I'm not giving out that there was a Black Lives Matter cold open. I actually love that about AEW. I wish they did that in NXT, but there wasn't. It gets straight into the action, and I'm not complaining about that either. Kick things off, we have Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim, apologies. Stop trying to make Yimitless happen. That's got to be the worst catchphrase I have ever heard in all of wrestling, and I've heard some pretty fucking shitty catchphrases in my ears of watching wrestling, but Yimitless has got to be one of the worst. Candice starts off hot. Yim overpowers LeRae early on. LeRae uses the ropes to choke Yim in a fairly vicious spot. I thought she was actually going for a jawbreaker to use the rope as leverage on the outside, but she kind of just slinks down, which I automatically thought she botched the jawbreaker, but no, she was actually using her weight to choke her against the ropes. Very clever heel offense from Candice LeRae. You love to see it. You really love to see it. Then there's a barrage of blows and a step-up senton to the back 3 times, and that step-up senton is gruesome looking, really impactful. You can tell she's not landing on her in a worked way, like it's the full body weight of my Yim is crashing down on Candice LeRae, and that looks awesome. Yim hits a cool cannonball to the corner, and they brawl on the outside for a bit for a double count out in 6 minutes and 44 seconds. But wait, there's more. Mia Yim is about to hit Candice LeRae with a power bomb on the top of the ramp, but LeRae reverses that into a head scissors, which drives Yim's head into the LED screen, which does that kayfabe breaking the LED screen, which you know is a work because it's fine again later in the show. I don't know if that annoys anyone else, but that's one of these things that annoys me. Why not just show the impact of her head hitting into the screen? Why'd you have to show that stupid glitchy graphic like the screen's after breaking when we know the screen is not after breaking? So they're brawling up in the top of the ramp. Tegan Nox comes out to break it up. After Tegan Nox comes out, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez come out to take advantage. They start beating on both Tegan Nox and Mia Yim. And then Shotzi Blackheart comes out. There's just this massive schmoz going on at this stage where you can't tell your arse from your elbow. You don't know what's going on. And then Gargano and Keith Lee come into the mix. And we got a tag team match play. William Regal he orders a mixed tag team match between Keith Lee and Mia Yim, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae to follow up on their stupid, not funny segments from last week's show. Gargano and LeRae try to bail early on, but Keith Lee is having absolutely none of it. And what is the funniest part of the night, Keith Lee gets out of the ring, walks up the ramp, picks Johnny Gargano up in a press slam, starts walking him back to the ring. While he's walking him back to the ring, Candice LeRae jumps on Keith Lee's back, and I mean now, like, when I say he doesn't budge, I mean, like, he does not budge. Like, he stays perfectly in place. Candice LeRae latches onto him. He's walking with her on his back like a backpack. He hoofs Johnny Gargano over the second rope into the ring, and here we go. We got a mixed tag match here. Yim is in firm control earlier on, but then there's a Gargano distraction, some huge boots and a face wash from Mia Yim. Gargano's hardly going to wrestle in those pants. That's what I'm thinking at this stage. He's got these like super skinny drain pipes that look like he's after getting them from his child. Like these pants are really fucking tight, and I wear some tight pants, but these pants are really tight, and there is no way he's going to wrestle in these pants. But he does. Keith Lee powers him into the ring, and even though neither of them are legal, there's absolutely no count. Lee dominates Johnny Gargano, but Gargano drives his car keys into the eye of Keith Lee to reverse a powerbomb, which is a really nasty spot. And when I said last week that I don't really buy Johnny Gargano as a heel, doing this kind of shit is going to make me buy it faster. That is awesome heel heat. That is cool, and it's something you can see. Like he's holding the car key after it. It's obvious. Everyone can relate to having a fucking key driven in their eye. Everyone knows that that's going to suck. It looked real. It looked cool. I'm all about that. LeRae takes advantage of the distraction, rolls up Yim for the 3 in 3:45. So yes, LeRae and Yim were the legal people in that match. Gargano then, so Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano bail on the match. Lee is fuming. He's shouting at Johnny Gargano. His hand is in a precarious positioned between the steel steps and the ring post, and Johnny Gargano takes advantage of that, kicking the steel steps, smashing his hand. And that's really opportunistic. I think that's really good heel work. I'm all about that. Moving on, we get a Karrion Kross vignette, and like I said last week, I really blew the fuck out of the vignettes, and I did it for a reason. They're really fucking good. If there's one thing that both these companies are good at, it's production, behind the scenes, hype packages, vignettes, stuff like that. And this is no exception. I really like Karrion Kross as a character. I like what's going on with Scarlett Bordeaux. I like what's going on with Johnny Gargano. I have no complaints about this. This is cool. More of this, more vignettes. I like this. We then cut to a backstage interview with Dexter Lumis, although it's not much of an interview. He doesn't say anything. He starts drawing, and we cut away from it straight away. Then we get a Drake Maverick interview outside. It's alright. He's getting over the levity of the match. He's getting over that, he's either going to win this match or his career is over. Blah, blah, blah. It does what it has to do. It's a good interview. It's kind of a nothing interview, but it's fine. We then get this Prime Target segment where it's kind of a vignette, kind of a mini documentary. I'm not quite sure how to explain it. It starts off very definitely with what is an Adam Cole vignette. He gets into the Undisputed Era limo. Then they cut to Velveteen Dream, who's cutting a promo on Adam Cole. But it's set to footage of him rollerblading, which I found profoundly weird. This is all like a documentary style package. It's cool. It's really cool. At one stage, Velveteen Dream is talking to the mirror, and he does the mirror on the wall spot from Snow White, and his reflection turns into Prince. That I did not get. I understand that like the gimmick is based off Prince. I get that, but I don't understand why his reflection turned into what was undeniably a caricature of Prince. It had the Prince guitar, the Prince hair, the Prince voice. That I didn't get, but the rest of this documentary series thing was really cool. At one stage, while Drew McIntyre appears, I have no complaints about this. I understand that in this time, not everybody is going to be able to make it to every show, and if they're going to do cool stuff like this to feature the people that aren't on the show, I'm not going to complain about it. I like this. I like Adam Cole. I like the Velveteen Dream. If I can't see them wrestle on a show, I'll happily see them featured in this way. I have no complaints about this. This was cool. We cut from this back to Dexter Lumis, who drew a lovely caricature of himself driving a car and the Undisputed Era in the back of it. I don't know if you know that caricature style. It's kind of like the Spitting Image TV show where everything's exaggerated. If you've ever been on the beach and seen a sketch artist, you know what I'm talking about when I say caricature. Skipping on to that, 27 minutes and 8 seconds into the show, we get Tony Nese versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. Swerve starts straight out of the ring. This goes right out of the ring into a brawl, and at that stage I kind of had my head in my hands. I was going to write this match off, but I was wrong. I automatically assumed if they were going to start taking shortcuts from the first bell that this was going to be a poor match. I'm happy to say that I was very, very wrong. Tony Nese has great looking strikes, like really, really great looking strikes and really, really great looking stomps. He has that kind of working punch where like it looks so impactful, but you can tell it's safe. I can't remember what legend said they used to hang a thread from a doorway and punch the thread as hard as they could without moving the thread. It's kind of like that mentality where the swing is as hard as possible but the impact is really low, so it just looks fantastic. And it's the same with his stomps. Tony Nese, he's excellent in this. He's really, really good in this. And then Isaiah Swerve Scott. Swerve sells fucking phenomenal in this match. He sells a body scissors like absolute death. And then when they're in the body scissors, they start this wild open hand slap strike fucking series. This whole thing is unbelievable, and it's in fast forward speed. Like this is in breakneck speed as soon as the bell rings. This is great so far. Swerve powers out of a guillotine with a huge brainbuster for a big pop, and I mean there's only a small amount of people around this ring, but like this is a big pop. I popped big for this. Nese then hits a slingshot into a springboard moonsault, but Swerve moves out of the way. Swerve hits a huge boot from the apron. Tony then hits the steps hard, so it's an Irish whip spot. Tony hits the steps with his shoulder really fucking hard actually. A while Jack Gallagher appears to distract Swerve, but it doesn't work. Tony Nese goes for the finish, but gets rolled up in 5:33. Isaiah Swerve Scott wins. This was a really fucking good match. This was a really, really good match. This was a solid match for the Cruiserweight division. And with what comes later in the night too, like this Cruiserweight division might be the best it's ever been since moving to NXT, since it became the NXT Cruiserweight title. I really think that this Cruiserweight division could be the best it's ever been in WWE. So after this we get Birch and Lorcan versus Undisputed Era versus a mystery tag team. Holy fuck, it's Breezango. Of all of the tag teams that could have walked through, and I try my best to stay away from spoilers, of all of the tag teams that could have walked through that curtain, the last tag team I expected was fucking Breezango. And the last thing I expected Breezango to be was dressed as fucking astronauts. This wasn't a bad thing. I'm happy to see Tyler Breeze no matter what he's doing. I'm happy to see Fandango no matter what he's doing. I'm glad that they're both still working. I'm glad that they both still have jobs after the massive cuts WWE made earlier in the year. And after this match, I'm glad that they have a story going forward. And this is a triple threat tag team match. And the first thing I wrote down in my notes is, how am I meant to call this? How the fuck am I meant to call this? So Tyler Breeze hits a huge spine buster, a massive spine buster, a big enough spine buster to warrant me writing it down. Breezango face off with Birch and Lorcan for a while. Strong truly is the king of backbreakers, and he once again proves it in this match with some flawless backbreakers. And I think as a wrestling fan, backbreakers are my favorite move because I can relate to feeling the curve of my spine bending backwards the way it's not supposed to be around somebody else's knee, and that fucking sucks. And the way that Roderick Strong does it is just so flawless. He's so good. He's really, really good between those ropes. He's better as a heel, better in the Undisputed Era. I think the rest of the guys pull him up character-wise, but in the ring, he's fucking untouchable. Undisputed Era have tremendous tag team chemistry, which is something I picked up on when they were in control for a while. This has that triple threat trope that I really don't like, where the three guys are in the ring, so you throw one person out, then you two guys have a match. That person gets in, another person gets thrown out, tags out, you two guys have a match, that person gets in. You know that, I don't want to say it's lazy booking, because these are six incredible athletes. They're better than I will ever be at wrestling, at anything I do in life, but I really hate that trope. I think it's lazy. What's the point in having a triple threat format? I don't get it. But anyway, moving on from that trope I hate, Fandango has some great offense. He's looking really sharp. And then Dexter Lumis is spotted in the crowd. When the camera cuts to Lumis, it cuts back. By the time the camera has cut back, we see a beauty shot. Big diving leg drop from Fandango for the 3 and the win in around 6 minutes. And this match was really good. It has that tag team trope I hate, but I'm not going to let that detract from the match itself. We got 6 really good workers in there, working really well. I don't have any complaints about this. It's only 6 minutes long. It was quick. There was nothing drawn out about it. It didn't have super big match feel, but it didn't need to have super big match feel. This was a number 1 contenders match for the NXT tag team titles. So I'm happy to see that Breezango have something to do going forward. I'm happy to see that they're going to be challenging for the NXT tag team titles. After the match, Imperium come out for a stare down, and behind Imperium, Rinku Singh and Swadav Gurjar, the Indian tag team, come out. The 3 of them have a stare down. I don't know what this means going forward for the 2 Indian lads, but I do know that it means that Breezango are going to get a title match against Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel of Imperium. Fuck yeah. Shut up and take my money. Give me all of that. We then cut to a backstage segment in which Chelsea Green fires Robert Stone. Why? Did there need to be dissension in the ranks already? I think Chelsea Green looked great last week. I think Robert Stone adds a lot to her character. I don't see why you'd need to break up this partnership this early. I don't know. But the commentators do make reference to how Robert Stone has his eyes on Aaliyah, who's going to be in the next match. So hope is not lost. We cut to the next match. It's Aaliyah versus Santana Garrett. This match barely begins when here comes Robert Stone. So instantly, you know, this match means nothing. This is a storyline match. No matter what these two do in the ring, this match is about the relationship between Robert Stone and Aaliyah. But Aaliyah does have some really cool offense. She hits a really cool kick into the corner at one point. I like Aaliyah. She's a bit green, but I like her in this match. She's got some cool moves. But like I said, this is a story match. Nothing that happens in this match matters, because this is a match to build the story between Aaliyah and Robert Stone. So complaining about this match would kind of be, I don't know, null and void. Stupid. Pointless. It'd be pointless to complain about this match because it's a story match. But we do get a really cool spot. Santana Garrett hits a head scissors off the top rope, and then a back handspring moonsault, which looks really crisp, really impressive, for the 3 and the win in 2 minutes. Yeah, like I said, this was a nothing match. I'm not going to grade this match. I'm not going to say this was good. I'm not going to say this was bad. This was a story match. Santana Garrett looked strong. and it builds the story between Aaliyah and Robert Stone. It did what it had to do. Moving on. We get another Prime Target segment. And like I said, I know that everyone can't be on every show at the moment because of what's going on, and I have no problem with that. And if this is going to get the people that can't be there on TV, I'm all for it. You know what the Prime Target segment is at this stage. This is between Charlotte Flair, Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. It starts off with these really cool visuals of Io Shirai completely submerged in water. It looks like she's actually cutting a promo underwater. She's cutting a promo in Japanese. All really cool, all really good character building stuff. Then we get loads more documentary footage. We get documentary footage of Rhea Ripley making her protein shake, Rhea Ripley training. We get footage of Charlotte training, goes back and forth, interviews between the two. And then we get another Io Shirai segment where I think they just put her over so strong. They really build her up as this world beater who conquered Japan. They show her with the Stardom title. They show that she conquered Stardom. I mean, they really make Io Shirai out to be a world beater. They have other people come in, talk about the wrestlers that are going to be in the match. Natalya talks about Charlotte and how they had their first match together. Charlotte makes reference to how she feels at home in NXT, which is really good. I like seeing Charlotte back in NXT. They show some footage of Charlotte working out in the ring. She's just got phenomenal basics. Charlotte is such a good basic worker. I don't know how to put it. I'm not saying that she's basic as in she doesn't do like really cool moves or anything. She does do really cool moves, but like her basics, her footwork, her stuff like that, her bridge off a suplex and stuff, she's just really good at that stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this triple threat. Anytime I get to see Io Shirai is good, anytime I get to see Charlotte is good, and I'm really liking Rhea Ripley. I'm just looking forward to this match, and this Prime Target thing did exactly what it was meant to do. Got me excited for the match. Got the three girls that couldn't be on the show in some sense. No complaints here. More of this, yes please. Moving on, we got a match that I wasn't actually expecting to get. We got Cameron Grimes, formerly Trevor Lee, versus Bronson Reed. And Reed kicks off. He is a fucking house of fire. Like, he is agile for a big man. It's a huge press slam senton combo, and it is fucking, the impact is sickening. There's a giant ass to the face in the corner. Bronson Reed is just getting all the impact here. Like, you're watching this thinking, no, this is going to be a squash match. This isn't going to last long. Grimes then avoids a huge splash and hits a cave in for the 3 and the win in 3 minutes. Took me by shock. I love Cameron Grimes. I don't love the name Cameron Grimes, but I love Cameron Grimes. I really loved Trevor Lee when he was in Impact Wrestling. He was one of the only reasons I watched Impact Wrestling when he was there. And for the most part, I only watched his matches, but I really like Trevor Lee. Excuse me. I really like Trevor Lee. I really want to see Trevor Lee do well in WWE, even if he does have a stupid name. And it looks like they're booking him right. I mean, he got a pinfall victory over Finn Balor, and now he's got a pinfall victory over this Bronson Reed. It looks like they're moving in the right direction with Cameron Grimes, and I'm all about it. I want to see more of him on my TV. I want to see him on the main roster. I want to see him challenge for the US title. I just want more Cameron Grimes. I'm not going to complain about it. I wasn't expecting the match. I certainly didn't complain about seeing it. Anyway, a wild Karrion Kross appears on the ramp. He gets into the ring. He hits a Saito suplex on the already worn out Bronson Reed, and then talks eerily into the camera. And while he's talking eerily into the camera, you can see that Scarlett Bordeaux is actually on the outside. This is one of those things again where it's not long enough to be a promo that you can judge. He just talks eerily into the camera. But as far as character work goes, set up another really cool visual. This is good. This works for Karrion Kross. I don't know exactly what they're doing with him. I don't know where this is going to go in the long run. But for what I've seen so far, this whole dynamic between Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux is awesome. I think they're handling them really well since they appeared. I think their entrance was super cool, even though it kind of made Scarlett Bordeaux the star more so than Karrion Kross. But moving on from that with the promos and stuff and the eerie talking into the camera, I think Karrion Kross has really come into his own, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them going forward. And finally, we get to the main event of NXT, and I gotta be honest with you, I think this was the match of the night as far as both promotions go. I loved Cody and Jungle Boy. I think Cody and Jungle Boy was really good, but this just about edges it out for me. This is Spud versus El Hijo del Fantasma for the NXT Cruiserweight title. It's the final of the big tournament they had, and this match is great. Bell rings, Fantasma hits a quick roll up for a 2 count, kick out, then you get some lovely crisp, some fast mat work, really nice to see. A cool monkey flip from Fantasma garners a 2 count. Then a huge rolling senton off the apron by Drake Maverick. He hits a missile dropkick then from the second rope. Giant sit-out powerbomb then on the floor from Fantasma, which is fucking nasty and not a bump that anyone in the business should be taking. If you are ever in a situation in a match where someone tells you, I'm going to give you a sit-out powerbomb on the floor, you tell them to blow it out their fucking hole, because not in a million years, not in a fucking million years are you going to get me to take a spot like that, especially after seeing the fucking splat noise that Rockstar Spud made when he hit the floor. That was fucking disgusting on the outside, but it looked awesome. Like, I'm a hypocrite for saying it. I don't ever want to see it in wrestling, but it looked fucking cool and it added so much to the match. And then Spud, like, I don't know if he's selling or if he's in real pain, but either way, he's really, really fucking good at it. He gets up, he is screaming straight away. You don't need a mic, like, you can hear him screaming from the fucking state over. Really, really good facials. He gets back into the ring. Fantasma locks on a Boston Crab at one stage, and again, he is just selling like fucking death. Like, he is screaming, the camera's right in his face. He's got this intense look of just pure pain on his face. Spud is a superstar. Spud is an actual superstar. What a general as far as selling and making your opponent look good goes. Like, Spud is one of the best in the business at that. He's fantastic. Then there's another huge sit-out powerbomb. Luckily, this time it's in the ring. Spud then hits a massive lariat, followed by some big strikes in the corner. Spud's coming on like a house of fire. You're really, really starting to fucking rally behind Spud now. He's looking great. Then there's a cool wheelbarrow bulldog combination, followed by a big elbow. Spud's running wild. Both men then are on the second rope at either side of the ring post, but it doesn't look contrived. I hate a lot of these top rope moves that people are doing these days, because I think the setup takes me out of the match. A lot of the time you can see this obvious cooperation in the setup of these top rope moves, and it'll take you out of the match, but this is not one of those occasions. It just so happens that both guys on the rope on either side of the ring post, and it looks kind of natural. It doesn't look super contrived. It looks like a position you could get in naturally if you were in an actual fight and you were going after the other guy to win the match. Not like, obvious cooperation. I'm going to move my foot onto the back of the ring post and pull you up. We're both going to stand on the very tippy top of the ring post and you're going to hit me with a falcon arrow. I don't like that stuff. It really takes me out of the match. But like I said, this was not the case here. This really did look good. Spud then, so we get the two mystery luchadors that have been stalking El Hijo del Fantasma for a while. Spud dives out from the second rope onto the two mystery luchadors. He then runs wild on the two mystery luchadors, he clears house, he hits a boot, gets back into the ring. Unfortunately, Fantasma has him scouted, takes advantage, massive super kick, which just sucks all the air out of Spud's babyface comeback. Then hits a phantom driver, really great looking move, middle of the ring, tree and the win in 10 minutes. And the energy sinks out of the room. Everyone's really sad because they know the stipulation of this match. If Spud loses, he's finished in the WWE. Everyone's chanting, "Thank you, Spud," blah, 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 blah. Spud, he's a great actor. He's got genuine emotion in his eyes. Like, he looks really fucking sad that he's lost this match. He's walking backstage, and then Triple H comes out to console him. He puts his arms around him and offers him what looks like he offers him an NXT contract, which he signs. And I don't know what this means, because Spud, of course, was released in the spring cleaning, as they call it, the massive series of releases that WWE made when the COVID restrictions came in. Rockstar Spud was released, and he said he was going to continue to work the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, I thought when he said that at the time that he meant that they already had his parts of the tournament taped, but it really didn't seem like that tonight. I don't know. Is Spud still employed by the WWE? I personally think they wouldn't have set up something like this if he wasn't still employed by the WWE. I think that would be stupid. I don't think they'd have included that piece on the TV show if he wasn't included. So I think it's a safe bet that Spud will continue to work for the WWE going forward, and that's a good thing because Spud is really, really good. Like I said, as far as selling and as far as making your opponent look good, he's small, he can get thrown around the place, he looks vulnerable in every situation because of his size, and he's also a really, really relatable character because he's the kind of character that you can tell that all he's wanted to be since he was a child is a WWE wrestler, and everyone can get behind that, because if you are a wrestling fan at some stage in your life when you were a child or currently you wanted to be a wrestler and you worked to be a wrestler, and that's just a really relatable character. I like Spud. I really hope Spud sticks around, and if not, he is going to be a great find for any company that's willing to have him. He's really great for putting people over. He's a fantastic hand to have on your roster. Well done, Spud. Well done this match. This was a really, really well worked match. This was, in my opinion, by far the match of the night across both shows. But which show was better overall? And I had to do a lot of thinking about that this week, because last week it was cut and dry that NXT was better. Like, there was absolutely no way I was going to say that AEW was the better show last week after that Battle Royal. But this week it's not so cut and dry, it's not so black and white. There was a lot of stuff on both shows that I liked. That Cody match with Jungle Boy was phenomenal. It was really, really good. And the match with Spud and El Hijo del Fantasma was also phenomenal. It was really, really good. Like, it really caught between a rock and a hard place here, but unfortunately I'm going to have to give this to NXT again this week. AEW had a good show. They had a much better show than they had last week, but there was stuff on the AEW show that was just plain bad. Jericho and Cole Cabana was just plain bad. A lot of the backstage segments, the Lance Archer promo in the junkyard was just plain bad. Whereas there was nothing on NXT bar maybe the schmoz that occurred after the women's match, the very, very start of the show. There was nothing on NXT that I can say was just plain bad, unlike AEW, where there was one or two segments, one or two things that were just plain bad. Sammy Guevara singing Jericho's song was just plain bad. Lance Archer cutting the promo in the junkyard was just plain bad. Jericho and Cole Cabana as a match was just plain bad. And NXT just didn't have anything like that. NXT for this week is going to take it again. So far on that Pro Wrestling Guys Wednesday Roundup, it's NXT 2, AEW 0, and I hate to admit that because there is a lot of great talent on AEW. And there's a lot of great stuff coming from AEW and a lot of great stuff going to come from AEW, but it is being held back by what I can only describe as indie shit. And that's nothing against independent wrestling. I love independent wrestling. I go to my local independent wrestling shows all the time. I'd live for independent wrestling, but I think some stuff on independent wrestling should stay on independent wrestling and doesn't need to be broadcasted on such a big stage, on such a big network. A lot of a lot of the indie nonsense is holding back the really, really good stuff on AEW. And that's my take for this week. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. The links will be on the YouTube channel or in the description box down below. Thanks for listening. See you next week.